Coming up on The Cut.
It's been a month since the conflict in Iran has started, leaving the Middle East in unrest.
ICE is now being deployed to select airports across the country.
And has the anonymous artist Bansky been unmasked?
All this and more coming up on The Cut.
The Cut starts now.
Hello and welcome to The Cut Network. I'm Brayla Burkhalter.
And I'm Leticia Natiello.
Cuba restored its energy after the third nationwide collapse this month that has left millions of citizens out of power. The country is currently facing an energy crisis due to the eroded grid over the years, which the government blames the outages on a U.S. energy blockade. Under President Donald Trump's administration, he is demanding that Cuba releases political prisoners and move towards liberalization in return for a lifting of sanctions. He has also alluded to a possible, quote, friendly takeover of Cuba. Another cause that has been weighing on Cuba is their dwindling oil due to the U.S.'s removal of former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The island has not been the same since, considering that over 60% of their oil comes from out of the country. The constant outages, some taking days to restore, impact citizens' work schedules, households, and daily lives. Many residents express that people need to start growing comfortable with the reality that these outages are going to continue to become more common and people must continue on with their daily lives. Authorities are aware of the severity of the situation, and the Vice Minister of Energy and Mines, Argiello Abad Vigo, explained that the country has gone 3 months without a supply of diesel fuel, aviation fuel, and gasoline, all vital for the economy and power of the country. Trump keeps a close eye on Cuba's government, while Cubans continue to push through this hard time.
As the conflict in the Middle East reaches its fourth week, tensions continue to grow between Iran and the United States. Earlier this week, Iran issued a statement declaring that they would close the Strait of Hormuz, quote, completely if the United States followed through on plans to target the country's power plants. Approximately one-fifth of the global oil supply is transported through the strait. In response, President Donald Trump issued a 48-hour deadline to open it back up, and if the strait remained closed, Trump threatened to destroy many of Iran's power plants, quote, starting with the biggest one first. Already, the effects of the conflict have been felt domestically by many Americans through surging gas prices. Still, the countries involved show no signs of slowing down. Quote, more weeks of fighting against Iran and Hezbollah are expected for us, said Brigadier General Efi Defrin, a spokesperson for the Israeli military. An attack on Iran's power plants could have several detrimental implications for the Middle East. If energy plants were targeted, distillation, vital for the purification of water, including surrounding Gulf countries, would be compromised. Moreover, Iran's UN ambassador claimed in a letter written to the UN Security Council that targeting these power plants should be considered a war crime. Finally, the conflict has brought into question the nuclear concerns behind the war, with the International Atomic Energy Agency estimating that the bulk of Iran's enriched uranium still lies in the Ifshtan facility. The death toll in Iran currently stands at over 1,500, with fighting continuing to increase in surrounding countries such as Lebanon.
Our Cut Network executives, Gabrielle Arias and Tatum Dent Lewis, took a step in front of the camera this week to tell us about the upcoming Phoenix Film Festival. Gabrielle and Tatum?
This week, Tatum and I sat down with CEO of Phoenix Film Festival, Jason Carney, about the upcoming annual festival. He explained to us the main goals of the festival.
Our goal is to bring filmmakers and film goers together. We want people to just, give audience members an opportunity to see films either first or films that they might not otherwise ever get a chance to see. We want to be a festival that, everybody feels comfortable at. There's different types of films, there's different price points, and all those things. So people can come out and attend whether they really love documentaries or action movies or romantic comedies, short films, a little bit of everything.
There are many films playing at the festival. Carney gives us a rundown on the films drawing the big audiences and how it helps the smaller films.
Opening night's always a big night, with our movie, especially Power Ballad. It has Paul Rudd and Nick Jonas in it, and and it's directed by John Carney. The centerpiece films are great, and they're high profile, and they'll get people that just want to see one movie, and that's what you have to do. If you want to have films that are just like big films and people are going to buy a ticket for it, that's awesome because it helps support all the smaller films that maybe people are less aware of, and hopefully we draw people in from one to the other. And so that gives us an opportunity to, and it's like, these smaller films, like they're now on a big stage, they're on the um same schedule and same festival as like a movie with Al Pacino.
Audiences should be excited for the films, as well as the fellow film lovers and makers that they will meet.
They should come in kind of expecting a sense of community. We have a lot of filmmakers that are here for the festival, and so it's great because they do question and answer sessions after the festival. And, at the end of the day, that's what separates, a film festival from going to the movies.
Grab your popcorn. The festival will be here from April 9th to the 19th. For the Cut Network, I'm Tatum Dutton-Lewis.
And I'm Gabrielle Arias. See you at the movies.
Thanks, guys. We'll be sure to bring you updates after the festival. The identity of the famous anonymous artist Banksy has recently been revealed once again by the Reuters news agency, leaving many disappointed by the loss of mystery. Banksy, known for his famous art like Balloon Girl, has remained a mystery since his work first came out. Many fans and art connoisseurs believed his lack of shared personal knowledge is what made his work so successful. Many expressed how upset they were that the news company, accompanied by the help of other publications, exposed his identity. Banksy was long thought to have been born Robin Gunningham around 1972. This was discovered through compelling evidence shared by the Daily Mail and other news outlets like the Associated Press. After that story was released, Reuters reported that Banksy changed his legal name to David Jones, which is the second most popular name in Britain, as a way to continue to protect his identity in honor of his work. Named or not, many art experts say that his name and work will never die. Christopher Banks, the founder of the New York-based Objects of Affection collection, said that Banksy's work will always carry significant meaning. He said, quote, "The name matters less than the presence. The presence was always what the work was about."
This week, ICE agents were deployed to airports across the country. Cut Network reporter Nicole Alejandro has how this affects travel. Nicole?
Thank you, Leticia. ICE agents were spotted at Sky Harbor Airport as the partial government shutdown continues, Arizona's family reported on Monday. President Trump said on Sunday that he would deploy ICE officers across the U.S. to assist TSA workers during the shutdown. On Monday, an announcement at Sky Harbor advised passengers to expect to see officers providing assistance. Signs were also placed to advise travelers of the federal agents' presence. As of last Friday, multiple security checkpoints in Terminal 4 were closed. DHS officials also said nearly 20% of Sky Harbor's workforce called out of work on Sunday. According to Sky Harbor's website, ICE agents are helping TSA with, quote, processing passengers at TSA security checkpoints. Democratic Representative Greg Stanton held a press conference at the airport on Monday, asking Congress to pass legislation to fully fund DHS and reform ICE. Senator Ruben Gallego also sent a letter to outgoing DHS Secretary Kristi Noem describing the deployment of ICE as, quote, fueling further chaos. More than 450 TSA officers have quit since the start of the government shutdown in February, and hundreds of thousands of Homeland Security workers have worked without pay. ICE agents are still being paid through a separate federal fund. For the Cut Network, I'm Nicole Alejandro.
Thanks, Nicole. In other tragic airport news, an Air Canada jet crashed while landing in New York's LaGuardia Airport on Sunday, resulting in the deaths of the pilot and the co-pilot. The aircraft was carrying 70 passengers and several were injured upon impact. This was the first fatal crash LaGuardia Airport has had in 34 years. The plane was scheduled to land at midnight, and a few minutes after it began to fly into the airport, air traffic controllers could be heard telling a fire truck to get out of the plane's way. The pilot of the aircraft was identified by his aunt as Antoine Forrest, and the two injured victims from the fire truck were identified as Officer Adrian Bays and Sergeant Michael Orzillo. Despite the plane and fire truck having been subject to significant damages, 40 people, 2 having been passengers of the fire truck, were taken to the hospital, with most of them having been released by Monday. Quote, "Everybody just jolted out of their seats. People hid their heads. People were bleeding," said Rebecca LeQuarrie, a passenger on the flight. Quote, "I'm just happy to be alive." Both Canada and the United States have sent out investigators to find out what the cause of the collision was. Right now, they are being called to look into air traffic and ground traffic coordination, which may have led to miscommunication between the plane and the fire truck. President Donald Trump commented on the plane crash, calling it a, quote, terrible situation, while Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney referred to the event as, quote, deeply saddening. The investigation into the collision remains ongoing.
Cut reporter Abby Cervenak takes us to our very own ASU Gamage, where Six the Musical has just finished its residency. Abby?
Thank you, Brayla. This last week, the hit pop musical Six came to Arizona State's Gamage Theater. Last week, Six the Musical performed at ASU Gamage from Tuesday to Sunday. Like many local and Broadway theaters, Gamage has removed the small white cast slips found in playbills at each show. Instead, audience members will find and scan a small QR code to reveal the cast for that day's show. Yet many overlook it, assuming the main cast members listed would be on, leaving understudies and swings unannounced. There are 6 queens and band members that make up the cast. The show focuses on the lives of the 6 wives of Henry VIII in a pop concert-like performance. During its 8-show run in Tempe, the role of Anna of Cleves was performed by 2 alternates, each performer taking on 4 shows. For the first 4 shows, the role of Cleves was performed by dance captain and alternate Carlina Parker. Parker had not played the 5th queen's role in over 2 years, making it her re-debut with this cast. The last few shows would be performed by fellow alternate Reese Cameron. Without these cast slips, the hard work of the understudies and swings of any show goes unnoticed. Next time you see a show at Gamage, be sure to check the QR code to see who's on. For the Cut Network, I'm Abby Cervenak. See you at the theater.
Thanks, Abby. Now Cut Entertainment anchor Ileana James has more updates in the entertainment world. Ileana?
Hello, and welcome back to the Cut Entertainment. I'm your host today, Ileana James. Let's jump right into today's segment. Hit Hulu reality TV show The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives have paused filming for season 5. Taylor Frankie Paul, Mormon Wives star and founder of Mom Talk, was arrested back in 2023 for alleged domestic violence with Dakota Mortensen, who she shares a 1-year-old son with named Ever. She was given misdemeanor charges on assault, criminal mischief, and commission of domestic violence in the presence of a child. She was accused of throwing a chair at Mortensen that allegedly hit their daughter. She mentioned charges were all dropped on podcast Call Her Daddy. Paul's season on The Bachelorette was set to premiere Sunday, March 22nd. However, ABC has canceled season 22 due to this controversy resurfacing. Now, let's take a look at Alex Earle. Earle is dropping a skincare line called Real Actives. WTF is Alex doing account on social media platforms has been circling with mysterious posts. Influencers have been receiving PR packages with the different puzzle pieces in locked suitcases. The puzzle pieces are part of a bigger production in Soho, New York City. Pieces are being placed as influencers post them in real time. The suitcase will open to reveal the products when the puzzle is fully complete. Since she has posted her skin struggles on social media for years, fans were speculating a skincare brand was on the way. 4 products will release on March 31st. Products include Get Bare, Pore Power, Go Deep, and Do More, all under $40. Quote, I've dealt with cystic acne my whole life, and I've learned that sticking to my routine and being gentle with my skin gives me real results. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Ileana James of the Cut Network Entertainment.
Thanks, Ileana. Now on to sports with Cut sports anchor Danny Elkeroy. Danny?
Thanks, Brayla. Welcome back to Sports on the Cut. The NBA season is wrapping up, and we're seeing teams across the league make final pushes to secure a spot in the playoffs. Today, we're going to be going over all the teams that are turning on the gas to secure playoff hopes, and also the teams whose season is inevitably fizzled out. Starting over in the Eastern Conference, the playoff bracket is wide open, with the now 5th seed Raptors and 6th seed Hawks only ahead of the play-in by about 3 games. This means that there are 6 teams fighting for a spot in the postseason, that being the Hornets, Heat, Sixers, Hawks, and Raptors, and Magic. Things started shaking up in the East as the Hornets and Hawks have went on some of the biggest win streaks in their franchise's history. The Hawks came off an 11-game win streak, while the Hornets just came off a 9-game win streak. With that being said, these next few games are crucial for the Eastern Conference teams, and no postseason spot is guaranteed other than the number 1 seed Pistons. Over in the West, we're seeing a less competitive battle, with almost every team in the top 10 having a spot secured for at least the play-in. The Spurs and Thunder have already clinched playoff spots, but for majority of the West, they're fighting for seeding. Looking into teams that have already been eliminated from the playoffs, the Nets, Pacers, Wizards, and Kings have already confirmed the end to their seasons. A lot more teams are expected to join them in the draft lottery in the next couple of weeks, and these teams look to reinforce their roster with the stacked class in this year's draft. The Pacers are currently projected the 1st overall pick after ESPN did a mock draft, and they're expected to draft Kansas guard Darren Peterson with the 1st pick. They could hope to pair Peterson with a recovering Tyrese Halliburton to create a deadly backcourt for the 26-27 season. The second pick was projected to go to the Sacramento Kings, where ESPN predicted BYU forward A.J. DiBonsa to be selected. DiBonsa has been scorching hot throughout the season, and while speculations of him not entering the draft this year are circulating, he's still seeing himself as a frontrunner in the draft. Obviously, the draft order isn't confirmed yet, but with the lottery approaching, many fans are excited to see their teams rebuild from what is one of the best draft classes we've seen in the decade so far. That's all for this week. Be sure to tune into the rest of the NBA season to see what teams make the postseason and what teams plan to come back stronger next year. Signing off for Sports on the Cut, I'm Danielle Corey.
Thanks, Danny. An unexpected friend made a surprise appearance at a gift shop in an Australian airport last Wednesday. A browsing passenger made a shocking discovery to find a live Australian brush-tail possum lounging casually among the plush toys inside a terminal shop at the Hobart Airport in Tasmania. Workers couldn't believe what they were hearing and seeing, and as more people heard word of what was in store, the possum got up and left the store startled. The retail manager, Liam Bloomfield, said one of the staff members called airport management to handle the situation. Soon after, airport staff safely rescued the creature unharmed. The reason for the possum's appearance and how long it spent in the store remains unknown, but the story continues to grow popular online. What do you think you would have done if you saw a possum in the airport?
I feel like I would have absolutely freaked out. I feel like out of all rodents, possums are definitely my least favorite. If it was a raccoon, I would have been so excited. What about you?
I think I would have definitely told someone about it, but I would have been a little frightened too.
I agree.
Anyways, that's all we have for you this week.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at The Cut Network.
Thank you and have a nice night.